I recently was researching, what's the difference between a get-home bag, a go bag, a bug-out bag, I'm never coming home bag. And believe it or not, it wasn't that easy. There really aren't necessarily agreed upon definitions for these different bags. So I did some research and I'd like to share it with you how I think you can make the perfect get-home bag. So first, I think you need to consider, how do you usually travel? By foot? By bicycle? By car? Maybe by train or subway? Or bus? Or is it by plane? This definitely will affect the size of your get-home bag and the contents of your get-home bag. So how far is your average commute? For most people, this will be, how far is it to get to work and back? For me, I only have to travel 11 miles. So that's an easy one-day walk home. Now though, if I'm visiting my daughter and her family, that's 80 miles one way. So that could take up to a week, depending on conditions, to actually walk home. Depending on the distance you travel, you might want to consider including a folding bike in your trunk. You also must consider, what is your climate? What weather conditions can you expect? Water might be your primary concern in arid environments, but where I live, water is very plentiful, really isn't a real concern. But what is a concern is getting hypothermia and frostbite when you're walking home in zero weather and maybe in ice and snow. And you must consider what the landscape is. If it's the city, or is it the countryside, a wooded area, desert, all of those matter. For instance, you might want to include a Silcock key to obtain water from industrial spigots for your urban kit. And if you trek home through a more wooded area, hiking boots may be an important addition to your kit. You also must consider, what is your physical condition? Can you really carry a 50-pound backpack for the distance you need to travel to get home? Or even a 15-pound backpack? Be realistic. And have you practiced actually walking home with that heavy get-home bag? I know I wouldn't even be able to do it probably with a 15-pound bag. And of course, the bigger question is, why would I need a 15-pound bag to only travel 11 miles home? And if you really think you can't carry any kind of bag at all, you might have to look into one of those very durable rolling bags. Another big consideration is, how many people? Is it just you? Or is it you and your spouse? Or you and your 4 children and big Labrador retriever? The number of people and pets greatly influences the size and contents of your get-home bag or get-home bags. You also must consider, what is the age and the physical condition of the other occupants in your vehicle. If you often transport mobility impaired family members, such as an elderly parent or a baby, you might want to consider including a wheelchair, a stroller, or a collapsible wagon in your trunk. And of course, transporting infants would mean you have to have a well-stocked diaper bag with you at all times. You also must consider your budget. Don't go crazy buying everything under the sun when you can't afford it. I mean, if you can't afford it, some people buy kits like this. If money is no object, but time is, then you may want to buy one of these commercial kits. But for most of us, I think we'd prefer to make a get-home bag that meets our needs. It's personalized. But you might not have the budget to get everything you want. Therefore, start with only the essential items that you need, and visit stores such as Goodwill and try to find secondhand items. Something else that you really have to consider is, how much storage room do you have? If your trunk routinely needs to carry your kids' sports supplies and still have room for groceries, storage may be at a premium. In that case, you might have to design kits that fit under seats or on the back of seats. You're going to have to be creative. If you're using public transportation, then you are limited by only what you can carry. You've considered the things I've discussed, and now you just have a little bit more planning to do. First, what are the most likely scenarios that you would need to use a get-home bag? While an EMP or even a nuclear strike could happen, there are more likely scenarios that could occur. If you travel by car, an accident, a mechanical problem, flat tire, running out of gas, or weather conditions could impact the necessity of a get-home bag. And if you rely on public transportation, weather or mechanical problems could also make you rely on your get-home bag. So now the time is to think, what are the essentials that you would need for those different scenarios? And you know, when I first made my get-home bag, I tried to stuff as much as I could into it, because you just don't know, right? Of course, I would not be able to carry that bag, and I would have to discard stuff as I was going because it would be way too heavy. But I wanted to get as much in that bag as I could. Neither food or water is essential for a 12-hour hike in 0-degree weather, but let me tell you, proper cold weather garments are a must to prevent hypothermia and frostbite. However, if your car stalls in the desert, adequate water and sun protection would be the key. Make sure to include things in your get-home kit that are essential items for the scenarios you listed. For instance, for me, I have battery cables in case my battery dies, and that has happened more than once. I have a jack and a lug wrench to replace a flat tire. Again, that's happened quite a few times, unfortunately. And then a shovel, so I can shovel myself out if I get stuck in the snow. And that is a reality in the winter in Michigan. Now it's time to make a list of those core essential items or gear that you need for your get-home bag. Finally, always check your preps. Make sure everything's in the bag that you originally put there and that everything is in working order. I time these prep checks to the resetting of the daylight savings clock because this coincides with weather changes where I live. Over the next few weeks, I will be featuring some get-home bag alternatives, and some of them might not even be bags. I hope you like this series. This is Prepper Potpourri saying please subscribe, share the knowledge, thumbs up if you like this video, and as always, thank you so much for watching and commenting.